last episode because you said
Are we not allowed?
I don't know. Is this a family podcast? I might be bleeping this right now.
Kids are not going to listen to this.
Yeah, this is
They have better
so
things to
boring
listen
for
to.
a kid.
Yeah.
Is this the podcast?
This could be the podcast.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Joe,
I'm Go.
and we're your purple friends.
Purple friends.
Yes, and in today's episode, we're talking about the Sunday Scaries.
Very applicable.
Very applicable.
Because there's a Sunday every week.
There's a Sunday every week without fail. And for some of us, that might mean this feeling of dread that comes over us as we think about another week at work and Monday and the grind and the routine and the NPCing.
Yeah.
And that can feel really daunting and heavy. So we're here to talk about it.
Right. And, you know, we talked a little bit about something kind of similar to this last week. We talked about seasonal affective disorder, which is like something that happens at a specific time of year.
Yeah, this
is happening at a specific time of the week.
Yeah.
But it's not really quite the same. This is not a diagnosable thing. This is not a disorder. This is
more
just
of a phenomenon.
Yeah, this is just a thing we say. It's one of those things we say.
It's one of the things. Yeah. So let's define it, right? It really is a popular term for the feeling of anxiety, the dread, the sadness that some of us might feel at the end of the weekend, typically on Sundays, right? If we have a typical work week.
Yeah, could be any day of the week.
Yes. As we anticipate the start of our work week or school week, right? So it really is just the marker of the beginning of the grind.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's like that heavy feeling that comes over us that can be really distracting when we're still having our weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be really frustrating for many of us.
What day of the week do you get Sunday Scaries? Do you get them on Sundays?
If I were to get them, it would be on Sundays, but I like my job, so I don't really get them.
Okay. But let's be honest. Let's be honest a little bit. Do you ever get the Sunday Scaries?
I mean, yes.
Okay.
I think I recently literally said I had the Sunday Scaries. I think it was just because we had so much time off for the holidays that getting back into work mode was a little bit of an adjustment. Yes.
The supreme zenith of the Sunday Scaries is the Sunday before you go back after a vacation of some kind, extended time off. That's the scariest Sunday there is, honestly.
Yeah, honestly, I think that the reason those jumps can be so hard is just because like our brain likes routine, it likes pattern, it likes to know what to expect. So when we've been on vacation mode, it's hard to switch it up and go back to work mode and vice versa, you know?
Yeah. So we said this is kind of like it's kind of a colloquialism. It's kind of like a thing we say, but it's not really like a thing. It's not like a defined psychological term, but
you can't be diagnosed with Sunday Scaries.
Yeah, sorry. You can't get a doctor's note that says that to get you out of school or work on Monday.
Yeah.
But there has been research done on the phenomenon. Research, let's see, by who would know better than, let's say, LinkedIn in 2018 found that 80% of professionals experience Sunday Scaries, with millennials being the most affected age group. I can't imagine why. And a 2020 survey conducted by Monster.com suggested that 62%, or it didn't suggest it, it found that 62% of respondents reported experiencing moderate to high levels of Sunday Scaries. So it's affecting a lot of people.
The majority of y'all, you know, 80% of some of you, 62% of another you know, like.
Regardless, it's more than half of us, it sounds like, experience this.
Yeah. You know, I do want to be clear. So like I said, I feel very privileged in that, like, I like my job. I really enjoy what I do. It's not doing my job doesn't really lend itself to a lot of stress. And I feel very grateful for that. You know, if we're doing our little gratefuls, which we forgot.
Oh my gosh, we forgot them.
That will be mine, is that I'm really grateful for the job I have and for my clients and the connections that I have with them, that it makes going to work enjoyable, right? I do think that there there are a lot of people who might also experience that privilege, you know, and for people who are weekly impacted with the Sunday Scaries, sometimes it can feel a little minimalistic if like someone like me, you know, were to use that. You know, I just want to be mindful of that too, that like it is very relative. We all have different experiences, and I'm not at all saying that like.
This is a really good opportunity to say, like, if you're experiencing something and you're calling it the Sunday Scaries, but what you're experiencing is actually like affecting your ability to go to work or like talk to people or maintain your relationships and stuff. That's not the Sunday Scaries, y'all. That's an anxiety disorder. It's disordering your life. So you need to talk to somebody about it.
Yes.
Very important to make that distinction.
Yes. That's exactly what I was trying to get at, is that like there's differing levels of intensity, right? And like just being mindful of what terms we use to describe them.
Yeah. Well, and speaking of describing them, what do the Sunday Scaries feel like?
Yeah. I mean, I think for most, it's like I said, just this feeling of dread, right? Not wanting to. For me, it's just like I feel completely drained, right? Like the energy is gone, the motivation, the inspiration. It can be really hard to like focus on what you might be doing in that moment. And honestly, like for me, oftentimes I just want to get it done and over with. Like I want to go to bed. I want to start the week already. Like I don't like to have that feeling of anticipation for too long. And I think a lot of people might relate to that, you know, that it feels not great.
Yes. So it's like you experience like a time dilation effect. Does it make the time go slower?
Yes.
Okay. So the time goes real slow. For me, I don't know. I guess it kind of feels similar. I experience kind of like a physiological, like a tightness in the stomach. Well, I also have an anxiety disorder, everybody. So maybe this is not a very universal thing, but yeah, I get very physiological issues in my stomach if I'm like really, really dreading something that's coming up the following morning or something like that.
Well, I'm even just thinking about when you were in the corporate world.
Oh, yeah.
You would, yeah.
I experience the Sunday Scaries basically every night to the degree that like I would get home from work and I would just stress about the next day.
Yeah.
I like did not exist outside of working and then stressing about working.
Yeah.
And that was not good either.
Yeah. And that's like that in terms of intensity, right? Like Sunday Scaries is too small of a term to describe.
Yeah. That would be the anxiety disorder.
Yes. Or even just like a larger, right? If it's something related to work, like maybe it might be time to reflect on your workplace environment, your boundaries, your workplace or your work-life balance. Because, you know, it is so normal to have Sunday Scaries, but it is not normal to dread, I don't know, like.
It's normalized to have Sunday Scaries, but it's not normal. It shouldn't be normal.
Yes. Thank you. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. It's our culture, our society that places such an incredibly high overvalue on like work
production.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
your value is not in that. I think a lot of the anxiety and dread comes from, this need or, you know, pressure to perform, pressure to produce. And that can be really draining.
Yes. The idea that you have to wake up tomorrow and just do it again. Like when you did it yesterday and no one even thanked you for it.
Yeah. I think that what we're getting at is that like for people who might more commonly experience Sunday Scaries, I think there might be like an overlap with jobs that like are unfulfilling, or that you feel are unfulfilling, right? If you find meaning in a job, whatever job that is, if you find fulfillment in a job, whatever job that is, I think that we're less likely to experience Sunday Scaries, or it's like a better way for us to cope with it when we have it, right? We have something that's adding to our cup versus just draining it.
Right. There's also, obviously there's people who get the Sunday Scaries very intensely. There's also the opposite. There's weird people who like to work, who are looking forward to it on Monday. And do you wonder if they get the Friday Scaries?
Like they don't want to go on, be forced to relax
Yes. Like, oh my God, I'm going to have to go home and be pressured to like sit.
and watch movies.
Yeah.
I do think that those are the people who struggle with a work-life balance.
Work-life balance.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah. I mean,
it's disastrous in our country.
oh yeah, horrible, and I think that a big part of that is our tech.
Yes.
Having at our fingertips our work emails and our websites and our this and our that, and especially there are so many people I think now too that are like entrepreneurs that are working for themselves or to some degree like work from their phone, where they don't stop working.
Right.
They don't stop working.
I think about you.
Yeah.
Who's like always on call if like there's a new appointment request or like somebody reaches out for information about the business or anything.
Yeah. I mean, I will probably answer always.
Yeah.
if a client or anything work related were to call me or contact me, it's really hard for me to not. So I get that, I get, and maybe again, that might contribute to not having the Sunday Scaries because you're just always in work mode. Right. But again, I do think that's a way of coping, right? Because it is hard for us to shift from like work mode to personal life, or vacation mode to home life, like these different modes in our head. We had talked about earlier, I think contribute a lot of anxiety of like having to readjust and having to, jump from there. So I think a lot of people cope by not doing that, from not readjusting, not going from work mode to personal life. They stay in work mode.
Hey, if there's anybody out there like that listening, how's your burnout going?
Yeah, I mean, that's a very real thing, right? Like it does absolutely lead to burnout. I think a lot of people are becoming more aware of what their limits are, of what feels comfortable to them, of what their boundaries are. But we do live in a culture that is constantly counteracting that. So it might not be a bad idea to always revisit your boundaries, revisit your relationship with your job or relationship with like the stress related to that job, and see if, the Sunday Scaries are just the beginning of something else that you want to, work towards or notice or focus on.
And for that, we always recommend seeking out professional help like a therapist.
Absolutely.
And we know that that's not always possible for everybody. On this podcast, we like to always be aware of, we like to be realistic. We know that everything is easier said than done.
And some of us might not be able to like shift jobs or lower the amount of work that we're doing, right? But there are always pockets of time. There are moments throughout our day. Like I often like to use like commute to work as something for you versus something that we just have to do, right? That can be a time where we are being mindful or practicing relaxation techniques, breathing skills. And it doesn't have to be a whole big thing.
Another thing is like, you might not be in a job, let's be realistic. If you were able to be in a job that didn't stress you the heck out on Sunday night, you would switch. It's not easy to switch jobs, switch careers. Like your situation is what it is a lot of the time. And it's important, to make sure that you're managing whatever stress you are able to manage in those situations.
Yeah. I often say that our situations rarely change, but how we feel about them can change, and that changes everything.
Yeah.
Right. So how we feel about our job, right? And earlier I mentioned jobs that have meaning, that feel y'all can make meaning.
Yeah.
You
can
a
specific type of job that has meaning. It's
you can create meaning of something that you wouldn't normally think has meaning, we as humans are the ones that attach meaning to anything. So you can add meaning to a job, or on the other hand, you can take meaning away.
Yes.
A job is just a job. It doesn't have to mean your sense of identity, your sense of security, you are still whole and worthy without someone at a job telling you that, right?
Yes.
So that's all I want y'all to be aware of. Like, you can create meaning or take away meaning.
Divest your self-worth from your job.
Yeah.
They're not the same. Your job performance, your job growth, your promotion, whatever.
The money you make.
It's not you. You are you. That's your job.
I love that.
Anyway. I wanted to say something that I'm grateful for since I missed it at the beginning.
Oh, yes, please. Let's hear your little grateful now.
I'm really grateful that, is it kind of a cop-out if I've said for this No, I'm not going to say for this podcast. I did that in the first episode. Forget that. You can only say the podcast once. Oh, here's something I'm grateful for. This is a great one because it's so small. Perfect for a little grateful. I just found out that they make black cherry citrus fresca, and it is so good. Not a sponsor, by the way. Fresca, get at me. Who makes you? Fresca. Don't say. I think Coca-Cola makes you. Coke, get at us. We'll sponsor us, okay. Coca-Cola. I know you got that Santa money. You got that polar bear money.
Oh, my goodness. Yes, I know you love Fresca. I still like the grapefruit one more. This one kind of tastes like medicine.
Different tongues for different folks. I don't know.
There you go.
Yeah. Anyway, that's kind of all we got for you this week.
Yeah. I'm really proud of y'all. You made it through another week.
Yeah.
You overcame the Sunday Scaries last week. You're going to do it again this week.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of strength in that. My gosh, look at how strong y'all are.
Those muscles are gigantic.
Yeah. All right, guys. We have been your purple friends.
Wait. There was something we said at the end of the last episode. There was like a new sign off.
Do it for your purple friends.
Do it for your purple friends. Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys, especially take a drink of water.
That was it.
For your purple friends, and just take care of yourself. Do it for your purple friends.
Yeah. All right, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Purple Friends is an independent podcast produced by Vibe Therapy Services and is not a substitute for a session with a therapist. Our show art was created by Jocelyn Lang, and our theme music is Nature Nurture by The Implied Bear. Vibe Therapy is an Illinois-based private practice serving clients in person at our Wheaton office and virtually throughout the state of Illinois. We accept Blue Cross Blue Shield PPO, United Healthcare, Aetna, and Cigna Insurance. We also offer private pay rates, as well as 15-minute initial consultations. Therapy doesn't have to feel clinical. Visit vibetherapyservices.com today to see if we vibe.